All right, welcome back to another episode of A Breath of Fresh Air podcast here with your hosts
Nakhaz gay.
and Earl Roberts. We definitely appreciate everyone for tuning in to our 185th episode.
185.
It's wild. Almost getting close to 200.
Yeah.
When will we hit 200? I
You
guess
know
in
what's interesting? Think
15
about
weeks.
how many words we say per pod, right? Then think about how many episodes, bro. It's like that's a lot of talking, bro.
Bro, trust me, it is.
It's a
It
whole lot of
is.
talking. But some people podcasts be 2 hours and thing, bro. Like,
3 hours even, bro. Like that is blow my mind. I listen to some of the, and like that time I listened to that 6 hour podcast.
oh yeah, you did
It
tell me
was
that.
just so captivating his story though, but it was like this is a 6 hour podcast. But that's like two blockbuster films, bro.
That's even more than that sometimes, bro. Because them films sometimes it'd be like an hour and 40. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
a 2 hour film, you pushing it a little bit. But anyway, I someone just recommend that same not episode, but the same interviewer. But I know I have podcasts I listen to, bro. They do um 2 to 3 hours and they have 700 episodes, bro. Like, and it's like, but they're doing this for years. But I'm like, man, that's crazy.
That's wild, yeah.
Yeah.
But God is good. You know, we
Mm-hmm.
been consistent. Like it's been 4 years now. It's crazy.
But yeah, it's crazy,
Brought
bro.
to you every Friday,
Yeah.
same time, same location.
Well,
Haven't been
imagine
canceled or
if
silenced
we were
yet.
doing 2 weeks, we'd be close. We'd be knocking on 400.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. I mean, I respect people could do that, but they also have a bigger team and way more finances to be able to have the bandwidth to do that.
But this one podcast is I was just telling Yana, but I said, but we need an engineer, boy. I ready to just record and let someone else do whatever, bro. Like,
Uh,
you
Also,
know,
we need to revive our Instagram page too.
like, are you ready? I don't even say nothing, because you don't hear everything in the book, boy, ready to go hard, but the next, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? I ain't,
I was just thinking of that like literally last night. I was like, "Bro, it's March. We ain't post all year." I'm like, "Do we just start fresh for Easter? We're back."
normal. I want to do content, bro.
The crazy thing is the time, man. It's the time.
Yeah.
And again, it ain't excuses, right? But it's like we both, outside of our podcast, we also work full-time jobs and we also have other stuff that we're involved in and doing and ambitions. So it's the time and the money. But God's willing, the time will come soon when we have more resources to pump into this. I know you working towards that, and so am I. So God's
Yeah, bro.
time will come, but we got plans for this thing to be a bigger ministry, God's willing.
Yeah, but like my goal, bro, if I could have my way, like our Instagram would be very entertaining and very informational. But you see, in order to do that, you gotta be posting 3 times a week minimum.
Yeah.
That's that in. But I just watch people. Obviously, they just chop up their videos, so that's short content, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a different beast for me because that's
Even the time to do that too. I'm like, if you have
that's what I
someone
said.
dedicated to go through all these videos and just chop it up. I mean, now granted, with the invention of AI right now, I even remember looking at some programs that could do that for us. But then at the
Mhm.
same time, it's like, how do you trust it to pick out the right ones?
Right. What I would feel like to be in. Wait, dog, I asked Chat GPT. I say, because remember, we was talking about Mary Magdalene off mic in a different little discussion we was having with some friends. And we was talking about the different Marys in the New Testament. And before I answer my question, I go on Chat GPT. I say, how many demons was expelled from Mary Magdalene, right? Chat GPT talking about, demonic activity with Mary Magdalene. I say, bro, no, John chapter 2. They say they expelled 7 demons from her. What you talking about? I was talking to ChatGPT, little bot. She's like, you're right. And ChatGPT
Sorry
is
for
like,
the misinformation.
yeah, thank you for the attention to detail. I like, wait. What's your y'all artificial intelligence ain't ready for my real intelligence, bro. I know I ain't talking no fool, but what you mean? But he ain't none. Just search it, bro. All I do is Google I could have Googled it. Google would have get me there, but I figure you would have been quicker. just lie to me, bro. Like,
Oh my, yeah, boy. And it's like with every tool, you just gotta like double check it and know what you want. And that's the thing about it.
Mhm.
So, but God's willing, man. God's willing. Things will get there. Hopefully sooner rather than later. But we just gotta do our part to make it happen. But the
Mhm.
ministry has been, growing. But there's other ways we could grow. The next word was coming, but then my brain just went mush. Full transparency.
Yeah, well, there's other ways you could grow and expand your platform, reach a big audience, and do things big. In a perfect world, bro, I want everything to be on point. I want us to have multiple cameras, and the cameras are reliable.
Bro,
Consistency,
bro, I want like the full studio setup, dedicated space where we don't have to use this visual background.
right? Like a dedicated space, and we could decorate it just for the pod.
Exactly. Like this is the pod room where, you
Right.
got things that are actually relevant to God and the ministry on. Like, we talking about Nehemiah, might actually have like some bricks or something like that to symbolize the wall and like a verse on the screen or something that, stands like, it's coming, bro. The mere fact that it's in our minds and we could see it is coming, but it's just gotta make it a reality. Like God give you the vision, you just gotta make it happen.
Yeah, very true, my friend. Very true.
So, yeah, man. So now we are in Nehemiah 13, the final chapter of our good friend Nehemiah.
Boy.
So you want to hit a recap for us? How did we get to where we're at?
Yeah. So on the last episode of A Breath of Fresh Air, we went through Nehemiah's chapter 11 and 12. We talked about the delegation of tasks and the people that was in charge. The people that all worked together on just the building and the Levites and stuff like that. So they took us all the way back to Zerubbabel. And for those who don't know, Zerubbabel was the first leader that came with the people of Israel as they returned from exile. So, they had been taken captive by the Babylonians. Then they were ruled by the Medes and the Persians. And in the midst of that, the Persian rule, the king started to permit the Jews, to go back, to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their city. So Zerubbabel was the first leader in that, you know, in that time frame, followed by Ezra. Now we have Nehemiah, who took on a leadership role because he saw a need to fortify the city of Jerusalem. The city had been rebuilt, but they didn't have a wall, so it was incomplete. And so on the last episode, I should say, they kind of went through the people that was pivotal in this restoration, this Renaissance period. And they talked right, and they talk about they might mention Hilkiah, son of this person, son of that person. It's almost like genealogical, but it's not. It's just basically telling you the people, but they use descriptive stuff. They tell us about the different Levites, the Nethinims, the sons of Asaph, who were the singers and psalmists, etc. And so now this is actually still a continuation of that. One thing that they did mention on a few chapters ago, after the war was completed, they they reaffirmed their covenant, their oaths and stuff like that, you know. And so now, in the grand scheme of everything, as Nehemiah comes to a close, they about to continue talking about the come to Jesus moment, for lack of better words, and just their reestablishing their covenant and educating the masses on what is expected of them as said in the word.
All right. So reading from verse 1. On that day, they read from the book of Moses in the hearing of the people, and in it was found written that no Ammonite or Moabite should ever come into the assembly of God, because they had not met the children of Israel with bread and water, but hired Balaam against them to curse them.
Hmm.
Man, when did we do Balaam?
Years ago, I can tell you that because we were still in Keller Road. Multiple apartments. I can say multiple. Yeah, multiple apartments ago.
Multiple living spaces ago.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
We were
boy,
still roommates at that time. Oh, boy, I tell you, we do Balaam.
maybe
Wow.
2022.
That had to be like 2021, but
Maybe. See, the reason why I say 22 is because Genesis, no, but we was knocking out them chapters in Genesis though. Genesis is
Mm-hmm.
a long book, and that was in Numbers. So, well, ain't no telling, bro. I ain't so sure. I want to say 2021. Yeah, 2021. You're right. 2021. That's what it was. I remember now. But anywho, for those who do not know, right? So we had Moses and the Israelites as they left the land of Egypt. This is the story in Exodus. And God let my people. God told send Moses to Pharaoh, say, let my people go so that they may worship and stuff. Pharaoh's like, nope, y'all lazy, man. Y'all need to work harder, if anything. Y'all ain't getting no time to worship, nothing. And so God, in excellent fashion, he brought plagues about miraculous things, um, natural disasters, all type of things that only God could do, came about the land of Egypt. But Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he did not budge. Eventually, he caved, and they were free. So now they're wandering in the wilderness, right? This is a short, short journey, man. They're only supposed to be in the wilderness for probably a couple of years or maybe a year or so. It's a very short time. They made it. They made it to the promised land, and they all chickened out. Moses sent 12 spies. Two of them was like, God do us right. God set us up. Now we just gotta conquer. But the other 10 was like, no, we about to die. And they planted seeds of discord, of this, what's the word? Anyway, seeds of confusion. And also they infiltrated everyone else's minds to the point where they were angry and sought to kill the two witnesses that said that they could conquer the promised land or whatever. And so, in true Israelite fashion, they complain against God. Oh, you brought us out here to die. You brought our children out here to die. And the Lord cast judgment upon them, saying that you all will not see the promised land. Facts, because of your attitude, on top of how you handled everything thus far. How
Mm-hmm.
you disobeyed me. And see Nehemiah chapter 9, I want to say, and they kind of summarize um they kind of summarize everything, the whole journey. But anyway, long story short, after the 40 years of after the 40 years in the wilderness that the first generation of freed Israelites had to spend wandering in the wilderness, they didn't get to see the promised land. After that 40 years, their children were now able to see the promised land. And so now as they were journeying to the promised land, they had opportunity to pass through other people's lands. So God instructed them, go through these lands, and you might need to stop for water and food. Ask them for water and food. If they say yay or nay, if they say no, keep it pushing. Don't pull no scene. Don't cause a scene, as they say in America. Don't do nothing. Just keep it pushing. Moab and Ammon, they not only did they not help the Israelites, when the Israelites were approaching Moab, the king of Moab said, bro, I gonna hire a prophet to curse the Israelites. And that's where we get the story of Balaam. You understand what I'm saying? There is a king, his name was Balak, and he hired Balaam and said, bro, curse them, curse them. But Balaam was a prophet before he was a sorcerer. You know what I'm saying? So he still had to go to God for permission to do anything, and God didn't grant him the permission. And if you need a little more, this is in the book of Numbers, if you need a little more um detail on that, you could go back to our earlier episodes. This is a good episode now. We had a really good
Episode
skit.
45, bro.
Oh wow.
I just went back and double checked. Episode 45. So that was 140 weeks ago.
Mm.
Did the math while you were talking as well. So that came out in July of 2021, which probably means we recorded it, who knows, probably in May of 2021.
Hmm. Yeah, man. He hired Balaam, and it was a good episode. I think we had a really good skit. That's one of the skits I can remember off the top of my head, like how it went. Good story though, phenomenal. I love the story of
I'm
Balaam,
like, I
man.
miss like the story project because like that's when we had like some really good skits, man. We
Yeah,
feel like we've been
like
shortchanging the audience, but we're gonna get back into some stories. Esther gonna be some interesting
we
skits, I
we can get
assume.
to it. No, let's get to it in Esther, bro. Let's get to it. Our
Um,
problem though, we just don't have the manpower sometimes.
Back in Killer Road, everyone was close.
Everyone was close, bro. Everyone was close, bro.
Especially how our house was the meeting point. Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
Y'all come over here, we can use oil for some skits.
Putting everyone to work. Yeah,
Oh
man.
my. And even to piggyback off of your point, right? Even before that, remember Abraham in Genesis 12, right? God told Abraham, I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. And in you all the families of earth shall be blessed, right? So even if like the descendants of Abraham, God made the promise to like, hey, anyone who curse you all, which we see Balak was really trying to get curse them. God just keep his promise. Like, yo, this is a promise that God made way back to Abraham
Mm.
and even to the Israelites when they were like trying to go back. So we see like these people had it covered. And we see however our God turned the curse into a blessing. So it was when they heard the law that they separated all the mixed multitude from Israel. Boy, oh boy, imagine if you was in Israel that time, you're just getting purged from the city.
Yeah, I did. It come with the territory though. And to be fair,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably how the Israelites were being treated in other nations too. We have evidence of that going all the way back to Judges too. People wasn't really too fond of like outsiders, you know.
Yeah. And so now in verse 4, now before this Elishib the priest, having authority over the storerooms of the house of God, was allied with Tobiah, and he prepared for him a large room where previously they had stored the grain offerings, the frankincense, the articles of tithes of grain, the new wine, and the new oil, which were commanded to be given to the Levites and the singers and the gatekeepers and the offerings for the priests. But during all that I was not in Jerusalem, for in the 32nd year of Artaxerxes, king of Babylon, it's always funny when they say king of Babylon, not king of Persia,
Yeah.
I had returned to the king. Then after certain days, I obtained leave from the king, and I came to Jerusalem and discovered the evil that Elisha had done for Tobiah in preparing a room for him in the courts of the house of God. Notice kind of remind me of
What's that?
every time Moses leave and the people pressure Aaron to do something.
Mm.
It's like, bro, I just leave you all for X amount of time, bro, and y'all just couldn't keep it right for a couple of days.
Mm.
And granted, it might have been a couple of months in this case because the track was a little far, but still, we had all this. Think about it, bro. We had all this covenant revival and everything, bro. I
Mm-hmm.
leave, and the first thing y'all do is foolishness.
But it's just so funny how this Tobiah cat is such a snare to the Israelites, bro. And Tobiah, he had intermarried, you know.
Mhm.
I'm trying to go back to Nehemiah chapter 6 to see if he was the foreigner who intermarried into the Jews, or if he was a Jew who intermarried out. You know what I'm saying? But Tobiah, oh no, they didn't say. Anyway, he basically he was an enemy of Nehemiah from the whole time. Just for context, for those if you miss previous episodes,
Yeah, go
Tobiah
back to
is like
Nehemiah 2. He was an Ammonite.
he's an Ammonite. Okay,
Yeah, this
so
is Nehemiah 2. Yeah.
Nehemiah 2, we get introduced to him. He was hating on the wall. Nehemiah 6, the wall was already built by Nehemiah 6, and he was basically just one of the people that was trying to call Nehemiah to basically beat him up, imprison him, or kill him. The Bible say they was trying to do harm to Nehemiah, you know. And yeah, he was not an Israelite, but he was intermarrying, and a lot of them had political ties with the enemies of the Jews. They was enemy. They really didn't want the advancement of the Jews, but a lot of Jews was affiliated with them, especially like a lot of high-powered Jews too. And so now we have this catch-22. Now we have Nehemiah, who's actually on the side of God and on the side of justice and doing things right. But he is seen as an adversary of Tobiah and these other men who do not want to do the things as according to the Lord. But at the same time, they good friends with some of the other leaders
Mm-hmm.
in the land. So it's like this, like it's like a I don't know, like a triangle right now. You know what I mean? Nehemiah cool with the leaders, but not cool with Tobiah. Tobiah cool with the leaders, not cool with Nehemiah. But here it is, the leaders cool with Nehemiah and Tobiah, but but you see a problem with this. These are the same people who's just trying to kill me. These are the same people who's threatening to kill anybody that work on the wall, bro. Like, what are we missing here? You see what I'm saying? Nah, we see Eliashib, who is a priest, bro,
Mm-hmm.
is in cahoots with this dude, bro. He's allied with Tobiah. That's his ally, you know? Yeah, quite the conundrum.
So for a little bit more context, it seemed like Nehemiah was actually gone for a while. He actually went back to serve the king of Persia. So it's not like he was gone for almost a decade.
Oh,
So it gives a little bit more time for the evilness to creep in.
yeah.
That's still wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you also remember too at the beginning, the king of Persia say, "Bro, how long you gonna be gone?"
That is true.
So Nehemiah say, "I came, I did what I was supposed to do. I set y'all up, made y'all reconnect to God." Because remember, in another chapter 2, he actually did put someone else in charge of the people too.
Mm.
So it also makes sense when we start thinking about this. He say, "All right, cool, you will be governor. Even though I assigned my name on this covenant and everything, I set y'all up already. Going back to go finish my duties to the
Go
king."
back to my job. And then we still had Ezra was around too, though. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like Nehemiah was the lone wolf and without him, things
Mm-hmm.
should fall apart. But
My thing is, all y'all make a covenant, bro. With one mind going, y'all should still be doing what you gotta do.
yeah, but it's different when the boss ain't at work, When the cat is away, the mice will play. You know what I
Oh
mean? Like,
boy.
yeah.
Oh my. So he came back, right? And he saw the evil that that Elisha had done, preparing, and it grieved him bitterly. Therefore, I, Nehemiah, threw all the households of goods of Tobiah out of the room. Then I commanded them to clean. I love Nehemiah. We come back and he just start authorizing things, bro.
Nehemiah, he choose violence any day of the week, bro. Like,
I commanded them to cleanse the rooms, and I brought back into them the articles of the house of God with the green offering and the frankincense. I also realized that the portions of the Levites had not been given to them.
mercy. And they ain't paying tithes.
Just imagining, like, wait, what is this? Like, what
They
y'all
just,
doing?
they just running wild, bro.
For each of the Levites and the singers who did the work had gone back to his field.
Mm.
So I contended with the rulers and said, "Why is the house of God forsaken?" And I gathered them together and I set them in their place.
All them going back to their day job, bro. That's up, Mick. But growing up, I didn't like, the musicians in church, they always advocate for getting paid. You understand what I'm saying? But it's like, obviously, the majority of people in church are not getting paid. The pastor getting paid. But in terms of music ministry, that has been a topic of discussion for a while. But I think in general, I don't know how it is in the Bahamas, but in general, in the US, the musicians get paid. I don't know about the praise team. I highly doubt that they do. Maybe the lead person who orchestrates stuff or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we could see where, this is a duty, like as a Levite, they had people just assigned you in charge of the worship. You setting the tone, like you setting the mood. Like that's the thing about music. You don't have to think. You just experience. You just feel. Music don't even have to have words. Sometimes you could just play, and you could feel that.
Mm-hmm.
And so Nehemiah saying, man, y'all they couldn't have been getting paid because this one going back to carpentry. This one going back to making tents. You know what I mean? This theoretic. I don't know what they
Yeah.
used to, but yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Boy, oh boy. Then in verse 12, then all Judah brought the tithe of the grain and the new wine and the oil into the storehouse. So we see, so like, even like this set up, right? We see a couple things happen. Tobiah, the Ammonite, moves into the place where literally the stuff that was supposed to go to these people was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So he moves in. And place to store this green offering, this new wine, everything no more. Right? So now you have the season stuff who there performing the work of the Lord, but they ain't getting nothing.
Now, even before that,
Mm-hmm.
it's funny how the chapter start. They talking this chapter basically talking about how Tobiah and them was sneaking in and what Nehemiah had to do.
Mm-hmm.
But they started talking about principles of separation. So you thinking this a continuation of the reading of the law, right? But it's a on that day read Dave, I back to verse 1 from the book of Moses in the hearing of the people, and it was found written that no Ammonite or Moabite should ever
Exactly.
come into the assembly of God. So now, and I didn't put those two together. So now they talking about Tobiah, who is a clear Ammonite,
Ammonite. Like
who
you
they
ain't,
moved into the room of the storehouse. You know what I mean? So like you, not only are you in the assembly, you living there now, bro. Like
bro. You in the middle of something because you in the house of God essentially, but you attached to the storerooms of the house of God. You so entrenched right now. You just messing
right.
everything up. You ain't like isn't I can understand, right? And again, this is the sinfulness of me coming in, right? If he was in a tent on the outskirts of town,
Right.
all right, it ain't right because he doesn't mess up the law, right? But cool. But you put this man in the temple essentially.
But a difference, see, I don't think being in the city and being in the assembly of God are the same thing. I think you could have dwelt in Jerusalem, bro. Like, you see what I say? Like, I just think when it comes to the religious ceremonies, you have to be separate. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
separated. I might be wrong. You know what I mean? But no, but they they give him preferential treatment. They set this man to live in the temple. To me, it don't matter if you in the holy place or not. You still in the building.
Right.
You like
Exactly.
Eli them. That's Eli them that live in. Remember Samuel? They didn't live in the temple, bro. Like,
Exactly.
come on.
And so now he lived in the place where the grain and stuff was stored. So now you see the people who worked in the temple didn't have any provisions. And so they going back to to whatever they was doing before time because they gotta eat and live somehow.
Mhm.
And now you just see the work of the temple just getting forsaken. So Nehemiah come back and was like, bro, what are you people doing? And it was the personal for him too, because y'all put Tobiah in here and y'all know what this man do to me?
This boy has been a snare to me, bro. Like this boy make my life a living Hades, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh my. Okay. And so now in verse 13, and I appointed as treasurers over the storehouse Shemaliah and the priest, Shemaliah the priest and Zadok the scribe, and of the Levites Pedaiah, and next to them was Hanan the son of Zakur, the son of Mattaniah, for they were considered faithful, and their task was to distribute to their brethren. Verse 14, remember me, O God, concerning this and do not wipe out my good deeds that I have done for the house of my God and for its services. Boy, this is a common thing with Nehemiah. I wouldn't say common. He do this like this second time or third time he do this. God, remember
don't
these.
forget what I do now.
Eh? I, what I think sometimes too, I feel like I wonder if they think about what Moses really had to go through, bro.
Mm,
Because you getting a small taste of it, bro.
yeah,
And he just saying, God, remember me, because this is a lot. Like
yeah.
I done try to set things right twice, might I add. I done deal with this Tobiah guy multiple times. He done
Mm,
try to kill me, come back. I done put him out again. God, please remember me.
please remember remember what I was doing. Like I just seem pretentious to me, but I ain't gonna say it is. But to me, it seems pretentious. Remember me, O God, concerning this, and do not wipe out my good deeds that I have done for the house of my God and for its services. I don't know. I don't
Possible
know,
God, oh
bro.
gentle Savior, buddy.
Oh, but guess what? It could be pretentious. It could be pretentious, but we can explain. I can explain that in the
Mm,
in the, in the scheme of things later in the text.
all right. Verse 15. In those days, I saw people in Judah trading wine presses on the Sabbath and
Spreading.
bringing in sheaves and loading donkeys with wine, grapes, figs, and all kind of burdens which they bought in Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And I warned them about the day in which they were selling provisions. Men of Tyre dwelt there also, who brought in fish and all kinds of goods and sold them on the Sabbath to the children of Judah in Jerusalem. when I contended with the nobles of Judah, and I said to them, what evil things is it that you do by which you profane the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers do thus, and did not your God bring all disaster on us and on the city? Yet you bring added wrath on Israel by profaning the Sabbath. So it was at the gates of Jerusalem, as it began to be dark before the Sabbath, that I commanded the gates to be shut and charged that they must not be opened until after the Sabbath. Then I posted some of my servants at the gate. See, I posted my own servants here. I trust in you all. So that no burdens would be brought in on the Sabbath day. Now the merchants and the sellers of all kinds of wares lodged outside Jerusalem once or twice. Then I warned them and said to them, why do you spend the night around the wall? If you do so again, I will lay hands on you. From that time on, they came no more on the Sabbath.
Nehemiah, boy.
For I commanded the Levites that they should cleanse themselves and that they should go and guard the gates to sanctify the Sabbath. Remember me, O God, concerning this also, and spare me according to the greatness of your mercy.
Mercy. So,
yeah, man.
That's what I'm saying, bro. I see. A lot of times I just give people just the benefit of the doubt because I ain't saying I'm the judge all of morality and stuff like that. I can't say. So when David saying, Lord, ride on my enemies, like make my enemies my footstool and thing like that, right? In my mind, I just like, that's kind of, I know, like that ain't love, bro. That's like to me saying, but like, I know I might be thinking it from a Jesus perspective. Remember he's in Matthew chapter 5, when it was like, you heard people say they do good to those who do good to them, but even tax collectors do that, but do good to those who persecute you, whatever, right? Not only is David insinuating that he ain't doing good, or maybe he might just be impartial to them, but he's saying, God, I want you to curse them. You see what I'm saying? I don't know if that's pious or even righteous to do. I don't know, bro. I see him kind of, I don't know, bro. It seemed kind of vindictive to me, but I might be looking at it the wrong way. Who knows? So I give people the benefit of the doubt. So when I see Nehemiah speak in such a language, I say, all right, I give you the benefit of the doubt. But let's think about a few things. Let's look at Nehemiah on a microscope, right? Nehemiah make everyone intermarried to consent to divorcing their spouse, right? But when we listen to Malachi say God hate divorce. So we can see where Nehemiah's heart's in the right place. But the way he handles things is not always the godly way to go about things. Second example, my boy, shut the gate. Yeah, close the gates. It's the Sabbath, right? But now he have his people standing outside the whole time. To me, that sounds like work. You have guards working on the Sabbath, right? To make sure nobody to break the Sabbath. And then you see the people who are not bounded by our covenant standing outside because y'all let me do this for all of these years. I only continuing to do what I always do, right? And you say, bye. I go fist y'all up. I go put fist to face. You know what I mean? I go put my hands on y'all, bro. Like he threatened to physically attack them. You see what I'm saying? Now, in terms of the cultural times, that might have been very acceptable, right? We see Jesus flip tables. Jesus ain't physically harm nobody. You see what I'm saying? I ain't seen nowhere in the Bible where they say, but Jesus slapped this person for blaspheming the Sabbath, slapped the Pharisee for making a mockery of holiness or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Or he threatened by, I could put my hands on you. You see what I'm saying? Like, but Jesus disrupt their establishment. He throw over their things or whatever. So my thing is, I believe that some of Nehemiah's actions were too overzealous. You see what I'm saying? It was to the point where you start off right, but the way you handle it, you get into the flesh. It's almost like when Moses say, must we get water out of this rock? Moses was mad and Moses was working on behalf of God, right? But now you end up letting your anger do something that was uncharacteristic of God. You see what I'm saying? Be angry, but sin not. And
Mhm.
so when I think about these two specific examples I give, and then I consider Nehemiah saying, hey, God, look at what I do. I do good. You see what I'm saying? Remember, don't forget now, as if God forgets. I think it come off a little pretentious. You see what I'm saying? Like sometimes people take pride in just being the authoritative figure and they do it to a fault. You know what I mean? And I want to make the case that that's Nehemiah because when we talk about the divorce and you trying to lay hands on people, this not of God, bro. Like God speaks against that. You see what I'm saying? Like imagine if I tell you by Earl, like anybody I see breaking the Sabbath, mind you, these are not Jews he telling it to, bro. These are outsiders, bro. Imagine I go to a Protestant non-Sabbath keeping fellowship and say, boy, any one of y'all I see going to work, oh, I put hands on y'all. You know what I mean? We stopping that. You said, it's a right and a wrong way to do things. And at the same time, it ain't like God is physically harm us when we sin. You know what I mean? They've been doing this the whole time. God ain't zap, die. You know what I mean? Type of situation because at the end of the day, he give us free will, you know? And so that's my perception in Nehemiah, you know? Right, 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 motive, but wrong idea, you know?
Oh boy. So now we get in verse 23. Okay, 23. And in those days, I saw some Jews who had married women out of Ashdod and Ammon and Moab, again, cities that Philistine cities and Moabite and Ammonites. And half of the children spoke the language of Ashdod and could not speak the language of Judah, but
Mercy.
spoke according to the language of one another, of what other people. So I contended with them and I cursed them, struck
Mercy.
some of them, and pulled out hair and made them swear by God, saying, "You will not give your daughter,
All right, play then.
you will not give your daughters as wives to their sons, nor take their daughters for your sons or yourselves. Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? Yet among many nations there was no king like him, who was beloved of his God, and God made him king over all of Israel. Nevertheless, pagan women caused even him to sin. Should we then hear of your doing all this great evil, transgressing our God by marrying pagan women? And one of the sons of Joadiah, the sons of Elishib, the high priest, was the son-in-law of Sanballat the Horonite. Therefore I drove him from me. Remember them, O God, because they have defiled the priesthood and the covenant of the priesthood of the Levites. Thus I cleansed them of everything pagan. I also assigned deputies and priests on the Levites, each to his service, and bringing the wood offering and the first fruit at the appointed times. Remember me, O God, for good.
Okay, so you see, they say Elisha was the high priest. I knew he was the high priest. I just wasn't sure because early in the text they just call him the priest.
Yeah, just call him the priest, yeah.
So remember, Sanballat is another one of the enemies
Mm-hmm.
of of Nehemiah. So I about to go back to Nehemiah chapter 6 really quickly. And at the end of the chapter, it was some letters that had been sent. So in the chapter, they had the enemies, they've been sending these false letters or whatever, right? And so in verse 17, Nehemiah 6, verse 17, it say, also in those days, the nobles of Judah sent many letters to Tobiah, and letters of Tobiah came to them. For many in Judah were pledged to him because he was the son-in-law of Shechaniah, the son of Ara, and his son Jehohanan had married the daughter of Meshullam, the son of Berechiah, right? Also, they reported his good deeds before me and reported my words to him, whatever, right? So now we see that Tobiah, his child, was married into Jerusalem. We just last chapter we talk about Berechiah and all these people, these
Mm.
names that are familiar when we go down the lineage, right? Now on top of that, um, what's his name is Eliab, the high priest, his son, um, his son married Sanballat, um, was the son married Sanballat's daughter. So the high priest child was intermarried. So now you can see how all of these things like they so intertwined, and that's why um Nehemiah was justified in being so frustrated with them, because we talk about this a decade ago when I tell you all get divorced. Now, it's a right and a wrong way to do these things. You see what I'm saying? They could have, even in the New Testament, we learn about, like, if you marry unbeliever, you know what I'm saying? Like, they sanctified through you, XYZ. You could read up on biblical grounds for divorce, and you could get a lot of information on that. Um, but now we see where we have this person who's a snail, but we have multiple people, like all of the people who, I am just about to make the assumption, all of the people that was hating on Nehemiah, that was angry in the work he did, they had their own political connections in Judah, and they was calling shots, and they had some of these people wrap around their fingertips, and they was able to have them do whatever they needed, right? That's why they could have report Tobiah's good deeds to Nehemiah, because, oh no, that's a good man, he's do this for us, this and that and the third, right? But the problem is, this man is not of God. He has a whole different philosophy that is poisonous to the sanctity of our religion. You know what I mean? And we take this very seriously. And God has warned us against this. And so y'all willfully go into this and y'all justify him, this and that and the third. But I come here to say, no, we doing that saith the Lord. And now that brings friction between me and these foreigners. So now on paper, these foreigners who are good men, that was Earl boy from long time, they ain't never do yeah, anyway, I just use you for example. That
Yeah.
was Earl boy. Earl is the high priest, right? That was Earl boy from time. They slam domino on the weekend, this and that. Tobias a philanthropist, all type of stuff. He's of a good report. He just is a pagan. He worship idols. He don't follow, he break the Sabbath. He don't follow he don't respect our God, right? That's the only flaw to him. Outside of that, phenomenal guy, right? Nakhaz come around and I say, wait, this boy got to come from around here, bro. He got a divorce, whoever he married to, XYZ. So now y'all looking at me like, boy, man, cause he just get a little excited sometime. But Tobiah, you could still stay around. And because of that, Tobiah, Sanballat, Jeshurun, I can't remember, someone with a G. All of these people, you can read it in the beginning of Nehemiah chapter 6, the beginning of Nehemiah, like chapter 2, 3. These people, they consistent. They have such a big opinion on the work that the Jews are doing because they have been a fundamental part. They have political ties to the leaders of the Jews. Now, Nehemiah coming and telling them how to do things by the book. But the problem is, Nehemiah, you wasn't around here, bro. We don't do things by the book. We play it by ear. But now we feel obligated by God to listen to you. But as soon as you leave, these Tobiah and all these people, they coming back to reclaim their foothold. So now you have the high priest whose son is intermarried. We don't know if the high priest is I don't think he would be able to be the high priest if he was intermarried. But the high priest, who I believe lives in the temple, he able to give Tobiah an apartment in the temple. Oh, but you can stay here, bro. You can stay here, bro. But this is only the storehouse. Now, mind you, Eliashib is a Levite. He's supposed to get paid out of this storehouse. But he care about Tobiah so much, which is his son's, no, never mind. Anyway, which is his homeboy like that. He care about him so much, he letting him live in the house. And then we learned that his son married Sanballat daughter or whatever. So it's just all bad, bro. These people really intertwine, intermingle. But let's not overlook Nehemiah who's threatening little kids, bro. Wait, hold on, man. Let me see if I read this right, bro. Let me see if I read this right. In those days, verse 23.
Oh, go for it.
In those days, I saw Jews who had married children of Ashdod, Ammon, and Moab, and half of their children spoke the language of Ashdod and could not speak the language of Judah, but spoke according to the language of one or the other people. So I contended with them and cursed them, struck some of them, and pulled out their hair and made them swear by God, saying, you shall not, the parents is probably talking about, you shall not give your daughters as wives to their sons, nor take their daughters for your sons or yourselves. But this man going crazy, bro.
The interesting thing, right, I was saying Elisha was a son-in-law of Sanballat. So that means, Elisha, yeah, he was a son-in-law of Sanballat. So that means he would have had to marry Sanballat's daughter.
I don't know. They say the son of Eliashib.
Oh, the son of Elisha. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's get a little confusing. Jehoiada, the son of Eliashib,
Yeah,
was the
yeah,
son
yeah,
of,
yeah.
yeah. So
Perfect.
that's why I know who Eliashib married or not. I know if we passed that already.
Ooh, hopefully it was a, yeah, to your point, I think it would have to been a, yeah.
Yeah, boy. So that's something though. That's something you working so hard for this wall, bro. And then that's imagine like my daddy working so hard on this wall. Um, and then my in-laws coming and hating on the work that me, my old man, everybody doing. How y'all can stand for that, bro? Like, I know, but y'all tethered though. Y'all tethered together. This still your family at the end of the day. This still your in-laws at the end of the day. No matter how much y'all disagree or how the stupidness they doing to stop the work of God, y'all still tethered because your son can go home to his wife. His wife can want to see her daddy and mommy sometime. Y'all might have a dinner together or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but the part that's interesting to me, really and truly, is again, just like we saw in Judges, just like we saw throughout everything, as soon as they make a covenant, they're so quick to break it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we see again, not even a generation later, bro. Let's just say Nehemiah was gone for like 10 years. He comes back and y'all doing everything that y'all was doing before I got here the first time. The only difference is now y'all have a wall and some gates.
Mm-hmm. You know what's so frustrating about that? When the Israelites came into the promised land, they were instructed to basically destroy,
All
rid the
these
city,
people.
yeah, rid the city of everybody that's around there. Like this, that was their judgment, and this is your reward for the city. No, it wasn't even your reward because Moses did say, but don't think y'all coming into this land because of anything good y'all do. But this was the promise that God gave to Abraham, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now y'all able to come back to Jerusalem. It could be a clean slate, bro. It could be a clean slate because Jews returning to Jerusalem. It was some people who was already there, right? But the problem is, while y'all was in exile, y'all was continuing the pattern. Y'all never stopped, but y'all could have been past this. You know what I mean? But y'all never stopped. And then Nehemiah comes, so that show me Zerubbabel, Ezra, these people who's around, they see it. Not to say they participated in it, they might have, but they didn't stop it, you know?
Yeah.
And Nehemiah was very forceful in him trying to stop it, and he did good. He got people to, and that makes sense why when they was reading the assembly, reading in the like our last episode when they were saying, I think it might have been 2 episodes ago when they were saying Nehemiah was making them oath that they're not going to intermarry, an
Mm-hmm.
oath that they're not going to trade and buy stuff on the Sabbath, because that's something that they was already consistently doing. That's implied. And now when Nehemiah leaves, you could see they getting right back to it. Now I move in my in-law, in not really my in-law, but Tobiah wasn't an in-law, was he? I can't remember. I'm getting it confused now. But anyway, I'm moving these people closer and closer in Jerusalem, and by law, y'all are not supposed to be in these places where y'all going. And I'm the high priest. If the high priest is not keeping the law, what's that gonna say? But everybody else, if you setting the example, you know. And so I can understand why Nehemiah was so angry. But again, it's a right and a wrong way to do things. And a lot of times when you do things the wrong way, you could be doing more harm than good. We see that in church all the time, and a lot of people have church hurt. I was just talking to someone the other day. She was telling me about her church hurt. She feel bad because people feel like they was being zealous. They actually was traumatizing, the young people in church.
Yeah.
These young people traumatized, bro. They can't come here because they so distracted by how y'all was treating them coming up. It's a right and a wrong way to do things.
It's interesting. I mean, I definitely agree. There definitely is a right or wrong way to do things. But I could kind of see why Nehemiah was like, just remember, you forget. Because just think about it, right? When you was so heartbroken. You came back, asked the king for time, right? To come back, repair the city. make y'all do all of this, bro. And it's like nothing, like y'all gone back to how things was before. It's like nothing never changed.
Mm-hmm.
That would just be heartbreaking to you. You could see why you say he was grieved, bro. Like, it's like all that hard work went down the drain instantly.
I feel like he was justified in his emotions. You mad at me for breaking the commandments, right? But you pulling out my hair. You to me, I think you're going crazy. I think he was mad to the point of psychosis. You see what I saying? Like, certain things is just wait, certain things just drive you crazy, bro.
Mhm.
Certain things, if you counting on boards, like how we saying the bombers, bro. Like my boy Nehemiah, he had extreme measures, you know, very extreme measures. And I think because of these extreme measures, he wanted to he wanted to make sure that he was still in good standings with God, despite him taking things overboard. Remember me, oh God, for good. You see what I'm saying? So now I mixing the good with the bad a little bit. I doing so much
Getting
good
a
till it
little
turned the
in
bad.
hand.
I doing so much good till it turned the bad. But remember me for good.
All right, so overall thoughts on Nehemiah, since it's like our last chapter. Next episode will be a completely different book, completely different story, completely different timeline.
Yeah, I wish we had a way to go more chronologically, but it's not that easy to do because of how things interwoven. But anyway,
Yeah.
Nehemiah, I like it, bro. So we start off. This gentleman was just at work in the king's palace, and he was asking someone, "So what's it like? What's it like in this city, in the New Jerusalem, I guess?" And they were saying, "Yeah, blah 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 blah. We don't have no walls," and that radically affected Nehemiah to the point where he was sick, like he was weak. His countenance was off, and the king noticed it, and the king being merciful, and you could see God working. The king permitted him to go back. Excuse me, go back and deal with that, bro. Handle your business back home. Make sure everything's straight. He did that, but very soon, and you would think that things would be a little more. They would have had a little more cooperation, but along the way, very quick in the journey, he had opposition. And I probably wrong. You shouldn't think they would have more support, because even in Ezra time they didn't have much support. It was people in them areas. It might have been that same Sanballat Tobiah, these people trying to stop the work. But Ezra was met with that, but he didn't allow it to stop them. And Ezra was them type of people, he really ambitious. It was death threats come upon him, but he had faith in God that if you try to kill me, I have God on my side. You see what I'm saying? So you're not going to be victorious. So he put himself in a position where him and everyone that's working on the wall are able to defend themselves, self defense, if any of y'all try it. So one hand they building, the other hand they got their tool, not for building, for something else. They get their sword, they dagger, they slingshot, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so from there they were able to get a lot done. Then he was met with economical struggles because the people in the land, specifically the ones who probably did not help with the wall, they was continuing to make money, and
Nobles.
the nobles, they started giving out loans to people who was so busy working on the wall that they couldn't sustain themselves, and they was putting high interest on that, to the point where people are starting to become slaves to them, being sold into slavery. So now our economy is plummeting because of the relief efforts for the war. Nehemiah had to assemble everybody and remind them this is not right. This is wrong, bro. This is wrong. That's what y'all doing, and y'all gonna pay them back. First of all, I gonna pay off their debts, and y'all not gonna issue these taxes anymore. These high interest loans anymore. That's illegal in our country. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not of God. So Nehemiah was faced with a good amount of in his short time there working. He was faced with a good amount of roadblocks, and even beyond that, the wall is now complete. They just need to put the doors and the windows in the wall, but now people threatening, "Hey, come meet me." They trying to This Sam Tobias, Sanballat, these people, they paying off priests who have good report to tell Nehemiah, come meet me in this place. We gotta run, we gotta hide. But it's a trap. You know what I mean? Oh, they sending letters saying, yo,
Mhm.
let's go meet in the plain of oh no. And Nehemiah saying, oh no, I'm not doing that. You see what I'm saying? And then they turning around and saying they sending letters, open letters, so that everybody could see, and they making it seem like, oh, we have a king in the line, XYZ. And so during Nehemiah's entire time, it's a short time, bro. It was 52 days building the wall. It was hard 52 days for him. You know, he trying to get something together. One, for the morale of our country, just for the betterment of each and every, for the protection and safety of all of us, right? And all y'all don't want to cooperate. Okay, the show must go on.
Exactly.
Now, we have external forces that's working against us. It's like their job is to stop us. That's another thing. I okay with them external forces because if they run up, they can get their tanks. They can get what they're looking for, right? But it's even worse when y'all inviting them in. That's what sucks, bro. You know what I mean? It's like you see, you always say, I don't get in domestic disputes. That's become a joke at some time, right? But sometimes, bro, it just fall on you. Sometimes you is end up being the wrong one for even getting in a dispute. You could have a couple, they going through something. One party comes to you for help. You decide to help, right? Nah, you help and you did the right thing because the person who come to you, they probably was being abused or, manipulated or whatever. You come and help, you intervene, you help. Couple days later, they back together. They forget all about it. But who you think is public enemy number one? The
You
dude
forget
who
it all.
decided to stick his nose in their business, even though he was invited. You see what I'm saying? So now, Nehemiah don't know he in a love triangle right now. They love these outsiders, bro. They love them so much. They giving their daughters and sons to marry them, bro. You see what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So Nehemiah really is the only oddball, bro. If you're the only, bro, he's the weirdo because this is generally accepted in our country now. You know what I'm saying? But it is still wrong. It's not of God. And it like to me, it's an overarching story of how sin sometimes is normalized. So I could just say Sunday worship. I believe that the fourth commandment is still binding. And if so, that means those who do not keep the fourth commandment are breaking the fourth commandment, which is a sin. But we live in a world where, at large, the fourth commandment is not looked at as binding. It's a lot of people don't, some people don't even know that the Sabbath is Saturday. I have a friend, he posted on a Sunday, bro, it's the Sabbath, bro. I'm a chill. And I tell him, I say, bro, just to be honest, you know, it's not biblically supported that it's the Sabbath, you know. And he tell me get from around him. That was his that was his immediate response. And all I was thinking was, look at this dummy. That's all I was thinking. I was like, bro, you trying to argue something you don't even know what you're talking about. I ain't telling you which day to worship on, but it is biblically incorrect to call the first day the Sabbath. It, bro, literally, the the Bible say the seventh day is the Sabbath in it. Like that's in writing. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I'm not saying if it's binding or not, I ain't saying whether you should worship on a day or not. I was just saying what day it is. But people consider Sunday as the Sabbath, bro. You and I, we was talking about this off mic. It's more people than we know. And it's an agenda to actually push Sunday is the Sabbath. They use a lot of Protestants, they say Sunday is the Lord's day. So even in the Catholic Ten Commandments, they say, remember the Lord's Day to keep it holy, right? But the point, I ain't trying to lose the plot, what I get now right now. You might be in a situation where something that the Lord detests or the Lord advises not to do has become normal and commonplace. But that is no reason for you to conform to them. Stand on it. Stick to your guns, bro. Not your guns, but stick to the Bible, the sword, the word of God. You know what I mean? And do not conform. We live in a world where I remember like last year and year before, like the conversations of gender, it was just getting so overwhelming to me. Every day we talking about gender, they asking questions, what is a woman? You know what I mean?
Mercy.
And I can be honest with you. I don't know the definition of a woman, but I can tell you this. My nephew could point out a woman. This boy, this boy only 3 years old, bro. I could say that's around a woman, and he could tell me, woman, man. You see what I'm saying? He could point that out. Now, it's some people who kind of like androgynous in a way, and it get hard. It gets hard. But I'm like, bro, let's be real, bro. Let's be real. We know what genders are. You know what I'm saying? But the more we progress in this world, the more the devil continues to infiltrate. It gets to a point where the worldly philosophy becomes the gold standard.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Nehemiah came back to. Nehemiah came back to a world where we intermarrying, but whoa, that was blatantly wrong. You remember we started off talking about Balaam? You remember that, bro? Balaam, the story, this is how poetic the Bible is. They talked about Ammon, the Ammonites and Moabites. Those nations were in cahoots to get the Israelites to intermarry, right?
And also end up getting them to curse. Yep.
To curse themselves. And Nehemiah's like, bro, why y'all continuing to curse yourself? Why y'all continuing to perpetuate the cycle? We have written evidence as to how this is going to end. You know?
When just last chapter, y'all accepted the curses and the blessings, but y'all
Right.
accepted the curses. And you know what happened last time we did this? Our nation fell.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
man, it's interesting, right? It's interesting. For me, Nehemiah is interesting because I know we alluded to this a couple episodes ago. Can't remember some point in the book, right? But Nehemiah being kind of a type, and there are interesting parallels between him and Jesus. But to me, I think Nehemiah was the uniter that the people needed, the leader that they needed. But again, he was an imperfect Christ. Naturally, Christ was perfect, right? But we see Nehemiah, what he did. He led the people. He was able to bring them together. He was able to unite them. Like Zerubbabel couldn't do it. Ezra was there, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, Ezra, what you really do? Like, you really need Nehemiah to come around and get the people really together. But Nehemiah was able to be a unifying force. He was able to bring them together. They was able to accomplish building the wall in 52 days. And like you alluded to this, right? But think about all he was going through, man. Like, because you talk about like the external effects, right? But you still gotta make sure these people are getting the supplies they need, the schedule progressing. Like, do y'all need more rocks, boulders over here? Oh, send this stuff to the sheep gate. Or send it, like, he gotta organize all this, ward off attacks, keep everybody happy, making sure no one not getting taken advantage of, making sure all y'all still got food and water and supplies because y'all doing this instead of actually working, and making sure y'all protected, and remember people who literally trying to take his life for doing this work. You know what I'm saying? Like, this man went through a lot, and to like choose this life, he wasn't like, I wouldn't say granted, but like God placed upon his life, God placed upon his heart, and he volunteered to go up and sign up for this. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And to like not get discouraged, and to stay strong. Like, man, someone trying to kill you, you're like, all right, God, I don't know, like, seriously, like, I come back in the bill of war, but now I gotta worry people trying to kill me, trying to take me to the plains. Oh no, like, come on, oh no, really? That's what you want to try to do it?
Right.
But Nehemiah had a great impact. I mean, again, we see at the end now he get a little overzealous. His zealous, his zealousness.
Zeal.
Yeah. And Nehemiah started the zealots.
Yeah. He become a zealot, if anything. Yeah. He would like.
But yeah, man, like he faced opposition. Jesus faced opposition. He was some form of a spiritual authority to them. And it's interesting because he wasn't a prophet, he wasn't a priest. He wasn't really supposed to be a leader, but he became a leadership figure for them. And we see when he came back after a decade of being gone away, he still had some authority there. Like, people still listened to him. People still respect him enough to do what he was saying. And it's interesting too, because this generation, you've been gone for a while, but who you is to come back and tell me what to do?
Yeah. And they might not have thought he was coming back.
Hey, who died and put you in charge is what people say nowadays.
But true, this is a new era now, bro.
But the people still respected him. And again, everyone in the Bible have their flaws. We ain't reached Jesus yet, so everyone has sinned. But Nehemiah did some good. and it should be commended, like to accomplish that in 52 days and to know, and like like this chapter really emphasized that he had a deadline. Even when we go back to chapter 2 in Nehemiah, he told the king when he would be back, even to the king, like he didn't say it, but he literally said, I gave the king a time.
Mm-hmm.
And so you look at that, like he knew he had a set time to come back and accomplish. And when you think about it, he was only really coming back to accomplish the wall. But when he got back, he said, y'all need more than just rebuilding the wall. Y'all need an actual spiritual reformation. Y'all need to actually turn your lives back to God. Y'all actually need to like come back to Jesus and recommit to following him.
Yep.
Because me doing this wall ain't exactly what y'all need. And he was able to identify that, work together with Ezra and come up with this whole reformation period, whole revival that was so powerful. That prayer was beautiful. But again, you see, it was almost for naught. Because the same covenant as you guys swore to, that was written down, you guys signed, you guys are breaking it again. The gates are open. People in here doing stuff on the side, but people outside camp, but people, you guys trading. Before I was like, oh yeah, let's make sure, like, you guys inviting them into the city to trade on the Sabbath. Like, man, the intermarrying, the same thing that Solomon get through fall. We was in the assembly, we read this, you guys was crying. It was such a beautiful time.
Right.
But you guys doing it again. Tobiah, who tried to kill me, who tried to lure me in the plains of, oh no, y'all have him in the house of God.
Right.
Like, what is happening?
That's a slap in the face.
Like, that's just blatant. Hey, I think Nehemiah take it personal too, bro. Like,
Yeah.
there was a little bit of personality,
Yeah,
personal
yeah,
deep in
for
there, bro. Like,
sure.
what, him? This
For
who
sure.
y'all listening to?
Wait, from someone threatening to kill you, bro, and you see people friending up to him, that's for sure. You gonna feel some type of way, bro. Like, I don't care who he is. Person threatening to kill me, bro, multiple times.
He sent an open letter. Y'all read the lies.
Despite this, who you?
Oh my. But it shows that God, like, shows that God can use people. Gotta be willing to go. Once you feel that tug on your heart, as Nehemiah did, he went, did his service. It ain't gonna be easy. A lot of the work of God ain't easy. The devil does come up against, as we see, he came up against Nehemiah. Had his flaws, but it shouldn't discourage us. And if we know we serve God, here's my thing, man. When you're doing the work of the Lord, it ain't gonna be easy. You're gonna face that opposition. You're gonna feel that pushback, right? And some people say, "Oh, you do it like God till you take up your cross and walk." He ain't say take up a rose petal and walk. You know what I'm saying? So it comes with the territory, but you shouldn't be discouraged. And if you know God got you, he ain't gonna let nothing happen to you. He gonna protect you as his own child, as you are. And it's just a story that like, well, a narrative tale that tells us and shows us that one, the children of Israel is stiff-necked people, but so are we. And then two, when you're following God, opposition will come, but you shouldn't give up. And at the end of the day, it makes me to remember the promises God has for us on our end of the bargain, because man, just like the Israelites backslide every time, so do we daily. And so it's easy to read Nehemiah, Judges, Exodus, all these stories, say like, why aren't these people learning? But God's probably saying the same thing to us today. Why hasn't Earl learned this lesson yet? Why hasn't Nakhaz learned this lesson yet? Like, how does this still be a snare to him? Like they just recommitted to do this, or they just say, oh yeah, we can have more faith or more patience, and you at the stoplight and someone cut you off, and you're like, bro, what? Like, man, even though we sin differently than these people in the Bible, quite honestly, we probably don't even sin as differently as we think. It's still a reminder to us that, hey, we're no better than them, and we sin just as much as them, and we need to also come to Jesus and just have that time with him. Confess our sins. I don't know how I was going with this.
Confess our sins, because he is faithful and just to forgive us.
You could cut that at some point in the past.
Yeah, all right.